Okay, we're going to reconvene to open session at 6:20. And we have an action to report from closed session by a vote of 4-0 with a motion by Diane Grooms and second by Keith Giles. The board approved the resignation agreement for employee FE 99-40143 to settle an employment dispute between the parties. And with that, we're going to start with the Pledge of Allegiance, led by Dwayne Wynn. Hey, thank you, Dwayne. And it's great to be here at the board meeting. We'd like to welcome everyone. And we're so excited to report to you without our plexiglass around us and without masks. So fantastic and welcome to our board meeting. We will start with the informational items enrollment report.
Good evening, board members. As of today, we have a total of, for TK through 8th grade, 14,115 students. In ECE, we have 594, for a total of 14,709 students. This is a gain of 25 from our last board report and a gain of 352 from the same time last year.
Fantastic. Very good. Next, we have the item board calendar for 2022-2023 school year.
Yes, we had attached the tentative draft of our board calendar for the meetings for the 22-23 school year. And unless there are any objections, we'll go ahead and move forward with getting that scheduled. And that will be our calendar for next year. Obviously, unless there are any special meetings that come up, in which case we can always schedule those and they would be posted in advance. Thank you.
Thank you. And also we have expanded learning opportunities, school start times update.
Yes.
2022-23.
I just wanted to make sure that the board and audience members, our families, were aware that we are still working with the AVSTA, our JPA, that services our transportation. And you know that we are part of one of three districts that works as part of that JPA. So we do have to continue to have conversations and engage in work around the start times for next school year, because the high schools with the new AB, I forget which number it is, but it's like there's another assembly bill. But that it does require, effective July 1, that high schools have a start time of 8:30, middle schools have a start time of 8 o'clock. And we are impacted by those start times because transportation serves all of our districts. It serves West Side, serves Lancaster, and it serves the high school district as well. So we're going to have to do some work to coordinate the pickup and drop off times between all of the various school districts, which means that more than likely several of our schools' transportation routes will be impacted. Thus, our school start times will be impacted. And as soon as we know what the impact is and what times we're going to have to change to, we will obviously get that information to the board, and we'll get that information to our families and staff members so that they can make plans accordingly. I just wanted everyone to know that we are working on it. It has not been finalized yet, but just to anticipate that there will more than likely be some changes to the start times. And more than likely, the changes will be moving our start times up at many of our elementary schools.
Earlier, yeah.
Correct. Mm-hmm.
And the difficulty is so many of our children are special ed and don't go to a school in their neighborhood, so they travel quite a distance, and keeping their travel time minimized is also another part of the jigsaw puzzle. It's been quite the challenge.
It is quite a challenge. And the good news is that all the districts are really working hard together, and AVSTA is working hard to try to make this adjustment as manageable as possible, and being very sensitive to the fact that change is not always easy. But in order for us to meet this new requirement, we are going to have to figure out some changes as far as the start times go. But we will keep you posted. Thank you.
Thank you, and good luck with that.
Thanks.
Another example of,
Will this require MOUs for the teachers?
No, when the school time changes, it does not require an MOU for that. So the work schedule is changed, and we will obviously engage in conversation so that all staff members know, because everything changes. The breakfast schedule, teacher schedule, everyone's schedule is going to be impacted by that.
this is a good example of some things that sound good on paper in Sacramento have a lot more impact than what people realize. It's a lot of juggling that has to go on in the district level.
The difficulty is with high school is the after-school sports. They don't want to start any later because they want to be able to have their sports activities before sundown.
Yeah, that's going to be another thing they're going to have to work around. All right. Well, we will keep you posted. So just the heads up, and we are working on that. Okay. Next, we have Expanded Learning Opportunities Program.
So I gave you a sheet on this with some facts on it. The Expanding Learning Opportunities P program is for after school and summer school enrichment programs. This will be for transitional kindergartners through the 6th grade. We have roughly $11 million from state funds for this program, and this is ongoing money for our after-school programs. So it's before school, after school, summer, or intersession learning. It's to develop academic, social, emotional, and physical needs of our students through hands-on and engaging learning experiences. They're supposed to be pupil-centered and results-driven, and including community partners and to complement, but to not to replicate the learning activities on a regular school day. So we've started the planning of this. Jane and Kelly has been going to some of the meetings that are offered from the State Department. On February 28th, we posted a survey on the district website to get parent input. On March 10th, I requested that teachers send out the survey so more parents would participate, because we only had like 90 people that participated so far. And then in early April, teachers and administrators will be asked for input, and our CSEA folks also be asked for input in developing our plan. The program design has to be safe and supportive environments, active engaged learning, skill building, youth voice and leadership, healthy choices and behaviors, diversity, access and equity, quality staff, clear vision, mission and purpose, collaborative partnerships, and continuous quality improvement. So the important facts of this, that the ELOP plan must be presented to the board in a public meeting, and we'll do that probably late to April. The money from the state is an ongoing program, so this will provide great funds for our kids to be able to have enrichment activities after school. The program is designed to have opportunities for enrichment based on student choice. It's to serve students in TK through 6th grade. And the plan is to get 80% of the kids in the school population to participate. And the plan must be reviewed and updated every 3 years. So there'll be more information on this plan in April.
I had a question. Go ahead.
Would this include Saturday school?
Yes, it does include Saturday schools also.
And then does this include summer school, and are we still having the same plan for summer school like we did last year?
So we have summer school being planned. It will be a 9-hour day for students. However, they can come just for the 4-hour learning time. If they want to stay for the 9 hours, they can. So parents have the opportunity of having them just for the learning time or having them there for the extended day.
And are we looking to partner with the other organization?
We are looking for partners because this is a very, very big project. So we'll probably be looking for the Boys and Girls Clubs, the City of Lancaster. We use Sansar also. So we are looking for community partners for this program.
Okay, yeah, that was great because I know we were able to expand our summer school program last year. So that was great. All right, great job. Next, we have comments from the audience.
Actually, we have.
Oh, no, excuse me. Expanded Learning Opportunities grant.
Grant, yes.
Yep.
And that's me. So I'm bringing this to you just because it's confusing when we have two different grants, both called the same thing.
Pretty close.
The good news is the board, we presented the information on this grant to the board back in May of last year of 2021, and you approved it on June 1st of 2021. So it's already been presented and is being implemented, but because it's and you know, we have so many acronyms in education, it's good we can just consolidate them to one, but with different meanings, I guess. This actually has two pieces. So there's the Expanded Learning Opportunities Grant, which has the purpose of expanding in-person services for our students, and 85% of that needed to be used for that purpose. 10% of it was in conjunction with a subsection of the ELOG grant, which is the in-person instruction piece. And that is asking for at least 10% of it to be spent on hiring paraprofessionals on full-time status to help support our programs, especially prioritizing our English learners and individuals with exceptional needs. And then we also have 15% that can be used for improving services for distance learning or other in-person instruction. And so this was still in a response to a lot of the COVID issues that were going on. So different possible uses included increasing instructional minutes or opportunities to support the summer school pieces in intercession, like the ELOP grant actually is focusing specifically on. Accelerating progress to work on closing the achievement gaps that we've experienced and barriers to learning, social emotional needs, those types of things. We were putting this together around the same time we were gathering data for our LCAP last year. So we were able to get a lot of input on this plan when we put it together through the same processes we were using for our LCAP at the time. So we had a lot of good input from our community partners and staff. And so the key actions I would say that have been focused on so far with these monies, because this is one-time dollars, unlike the ELOP, which is ongoing every year with that kind of money. This was one time that needs to be expended by December 15th of this year. So it will end and we will need to have that all expended. But we are focusing on some big ticket items to help support in our schools. So we have partnered with the Sports for Learning folks who are now Alivo to provide that professional learning community time that's embedded in the day to help support our teachers so our students can get their PE minutes while teachers are given time to work on planning and instructional pieces that they need to do for their grade level. So that's been very successful so far. And we also invested quite a bit in our MTSS paraprofessional support program for our TK1 classrooms that opted in to participating in this. So we really expanded. We had been piloting it with a different grant at just 3 of our schools, and we were having such success that we opened it up to all of our elementary schools. So those are 2 of the biggest ways that we've been spending the ELOG grant monies.
Hey, sounds like a great program. It is interesting they have the same name, but
Yeah.
we'll take support any way we can.
Thank you.
Yeah, thank you. Okay, next we have comments from the audience, new procedures.
Yes, I just wanted to share with the board. You know that currently we have a couple of different ways that members of the audience can comment and give input. And just to remind everyone of what they are, we have our blue cards. So if people come to speak, they may, we ask that they fill out a speaker card, and then we'll recognize them so that they have an opportunity to address the board. We also have an opportunity, if people look at our agenda, where they can actually submit something in writing, and it will be read by the superintendent, and I'm happy to do that. So we will continue with those two pieces. The third piece that we are adding, as you know, we live stream the board meeting. We have identified a way that through WebEx, we will be able to have people register in advance if they would like to speak. So it's comparable to filling out a speaker card online. And once they do that, then at a certain time, I believe we can go up until about 5 p.m. on the day of the board meeting. If they register online to speak, then I will be provided with a list for open session, and those people will be recognized and they'll be unmuted. They'll be allowed to join the meeting to make their comment to the board and unmute it for that time period. And then we would be able to go on to the next person that is registered to speak. So it's not an open audience, but if people register in advance, then we would be able to recognize them and give them an opportunity to speak. We are able to start implementing that as early as the next board meeting with the board's consensus to move forward in that direction.
And then you would have instructions online about when they would need to submit that request by?
Yes. So we currently have instructions for the speaker card and for submitting something in writing. So we would just add the guidelines and a link for where they can go to register, and it would contain the guidelines similar to what already appears on the speaker card. And that would be in English and Spanish, I believe.
All right. Any questions or comments?
Okay, so we will move forward with instituting that for the first meeting in April.
Okay,
Thank
very
you.
good. And next we have any other items?
No other items this evening.
Okay, very good. Now we have the above and beyond awards.
Is she here for that? Okay, I'm sorry. We do have another. Okay, we have an update for Hazel Health. We didn't have that information in time, so we just added it under other, and we do have Rose Warris is here. So we want to make sure that we recognize and give her time. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. This one. Okay. Good evening. Thank you for allowing me this opportunity to introduce you to Hazel. Hazel is the largest and most trusted telehealth provider for K through 12 schools. Their headquarters are located in San Francisco, California. They service 17 school districts in California, one of which includes San Bernardino County. Hazel is a telehealth designed specifically for children in schools, and basically what it is it can be accessed through at school or at home. And right now, the pilot program will be started at the Welcome and Wellness Center. I will share a brief overview of how it works. So the way the program works is parents will enroll or register their children through Hazel Health, and the district will provide links and information for our parents once we do the rollout Hazel Health can also be called for medical and mental health issues. There's medical professionals available that will meet with the children when they register online. Okay, the way it works is once a parent decides that they want to register and they want to consent to care, they will complete the information that's required from Hazel Health. They will need contact information, medical history, and allergies. They will provide insurance information if it's available. Now, if there's a family that does not have insurance, they will also be provided a service. So regardless of whether a family has insurance or not, they will still be serviced. Once the family completes this information, there is a Hazel team that will look through the forms, and they will look through them thoroughly to make sure that they have everything they need before any health care is provided for them. The partnership with the telehealth services consists of the following. One is the HEART protocol, which is actually the mental health services. There's the physical health, and then there's core care coordination. So if a family is in need of a prescription, the provider will provide a prescription to whatever pharmacist that they choose. Regularly, on a regular basis, Hazel will provide us with an overview of the program so that we know how it's working with our families. This is a list of some of the common symptoms which students usually go to the health to the health clerk for. And as you can see, it's a variety of different symptoms, but the goal is to keep the kids in school. So it's for them to be seen, treated, and then back to the class. The Hazel's practices are aligned with our district policies and procedures. Mental health is a big issue, and we continue to see the increase in it. So the way it works with Hazel is a referral can be made by counselors, vice principals, principals, parents, or the Hazel providers. The wait time has been drastically reduced through Hazel. There's a 24 to 48-hour callback once there is a recommendation made. They usually take anywhere from 7 to 10 days to get the first appointment. And this is for short-term services. So the goal is for Hazel to refer them to somebody local so that they can provide them with the long-term needs that they need. The launch for the district is targeted to start mid-April, and it's going to start at the Welcome and Wellness Center. We are in the process of implementing the program and getting the equipment necessary to get this started. On March 29th, we will have in-person training with demos so that we get hands-on experience. The families will be sent information, which will be through emails, texts, websites, social media, and the staff at the Welcome and Wellness Center will be available to help the families register. And just so you know, we currently have families that are interested in the mental health portion of it, so they're on a waiting list and waiting for us to get this implemented so that they can get the services they need. The site personnel at the Welcome and Wellness Center is available 12 months out of the year. So during the summer months or during the holidays when the schools are closed and they don't have access to counselors or psychologists, we will be available to assist them to get the services through Hazel. The launch for the rollout to be at the schools is targeted for the 22-23 school year. So we're excited to get that going.
Great. Any questions?
Do you know an approximate cost?
It's free for this year for our students, and it's for all of our students. So it's a pilot program at no charge.
And this was actually on the board meeting, the agenda last time. And there was information as far as the contract and everything, and the board approved that. We just wanted to give you a little bit more information on the details of how it would be rolled out, because we think it's a wonderful opportunity for the members of our school community. And as Rose had indicated, we've got lots of families that are anxiously awaiting that much needed support. So I want to thank her in advance for the work that she and her team will be doing to support our families and to work with Hazel. The pilot does give us an opportunity to identify any areas of concern, work out any little tweaks or how we can make sure that this is going to be beneficial for our students and not too overburdening for our staff, so that we can do it in a really efficient way. The students and families can get the help that they need. And families can access this from home in addition to, because it's telehealth. So it's not just what happens in the school year. Once they're registered, they can also access services from home.
Nice.
And I believe the mental health part of it, I expect that there will be a lot of interest in that from our parents and guardians.
I just had a quick question, Rose. Good to see you. Long time no see. Is Hazel an acronym for something, or is it just a cool name they came up with?
I have it written.
I knew you would.
It's, hey, I think it's
Like health something.
health assessment.
I just don't want to lose a bet on another acronym. So you might. Okay, go ahead.
No, that was HEART. So it's HEART is Health Early Assessment Response Treatment. So Hazel, I'm not sure. Sorry.
Okay. Well, okay. I didn't know if it was named after a girl named Hazel or it was an acronym. Okay. Well, I'll get back to you.
Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you.
I think this is a great program. Wait a minute. I think this is a great program because it takes so long to get an appointment, and often a parent just needs an answer to get some confidence that their child's okay or their child needs more services. Is this handled through medical liability? We have insurance for everything.
That's true. Well, Hazel Health will actually work with the families to see if they have any kind of medical coverage at all. And then they will utilize that information. But all of the families would be eligible to access the services. So if they're low income, they're still eligible to receive the services, and Hazel Health goes through that billing process accordingly so that they would be able to get paid. But
That's not exactly what I was asking.
oh, okay. I'm sorry.
It's on the downside. If
Okay.
something happens and someone says you didn't identify something, you didn't catch something early enough, where is the district's liability? Where does that lie?
That's a good question. So the parent has to give consent to work with Hazel Health, and so they agree that the Hazel Health medical provider is giving them the advice that they need. So it has no effect on the district. It's kind of outside of the district. They've consented to Hazel Health. Hazel Health is then their health provider.
Okay, and that obviously then maintains medical health confidentiality.
Exactly. They work with several districts already, so they know all about HIPAA and all those laws.
Okay, just wanted to ask the question.
And that was good because that was my question was, I just want to make sure that parents had to opt in and that students couldn't access the program without parent permission.
Yeah, no, the parent has to give full consent before a student is treated.
Oh, okay, great. Okay,
You guys
awesome.
over there are awesome. Thank you
Yeah.
so much.
Thank you.
Thank you very much. Okay, and next we have our Above and Beyond Awards.
We do. We are busy. And I'm not sure if our recipient is here. Cynthia Alcazar? You are here. Wonderful. Well, come on down. Let's give her- And listen to these wonderful words that were shared about you. It is truly my pleasure to do an Above and Beyond recognition. I think you're the first one I've had an opportunity to share with this year. Cynthia Alcazar is one of our wonderful folks over at New Vista, and you were nominated for this award by Mrs. Cochran. And it reads as follows. I would like to submit Cindy Alcazar for consideration of an Above and Beyond Award. A short time ago, a Jack Northrop student was playing soccer and slid out across the grass with their foot getting caught underneath the fencing at the school. The student's ankle was stuck under the fencing and could not be removed. I called Cindy at New Vista Middle because she used to be over there. I bet she knew you. And she ran over to our field with tools to carefully adjust the fencing to free the student. We are so grateful that Cindy Alcazar came to the rescue during her lunch break to help us in this situation and would love the opportunity to celebrate her with an Above and Beyond Award. Thank you so much, Cindy, and thank you for being handy.
Congratulations. Thank you so much, Brian.
Thank you very much. And that's why they call it the Above and Beyond Awards. Great job. Okay, next we have our presentations, requests, and reports. The second interim budget report brought by Ruby Thompson, Director of Fiscal Services.
Okay, well, as you know, I get up here about 3 times a year to let you guys know what the status is for our district. And this is for the second interim that was on information through January of this year. So the assumptions that were used for the second interim are all of our COLAs. So it's 5.07 for the current year, 5.33 for next year, and the following year is 3.61. So we also talk about the impacts to our budget and its stirs and purs. And as you can tell, we've continued to go up. Remember, the stirs and purs used to be at about 7 and 8%. And that seems so long ago because it seems like it's been rising for about the last 8 or 9 years. But as you can tell, they've more than doubled, and in some cases almost tripled. So for this year, the stirs is 15.15 and the purs is 20.7. But if you go down to 23-24, it's almost a 3% increase for stirs, but purs is going up 6.5% or so. So that's a huge impact to our budget. And it's something that will continue to impact us for many years to come. So that's something I want you guys to keep an eye on, because I want to make sure that we keep that in the forefront, that that's a continuous increase above, those are above what we're getting in COLAs. So we just need to really know that, you know, we have our 2% increase usually for our step and column. And we also have this that is automatic every year. And so that's something that is beyond our control. And I wanted to show the increases. This is just another way of looking at it. This is a graph versus just the plain data. So we're really, like I said, going from 20.7 to 27.10 in PERS, and STIRS is 16.15 to 19.10. That's huge for us. So I usually try to show you where the revenues are coming from, and you see that LCFF is 58.8% of our budget. That's the biggest piece. Federal used to be a very small piece, but now because of a lot of our one-time funding, it's now 26%. So that's made a huge jump. Our state is also a little bit larger. It's 11.2%, and our local is 4%. And remember, a big chunk of that is our special ed, because we get our money through Palmdale School District. So our expenditures, our salaries and benefits have always taken a huge chunk. And if we look at this, it's no different this year. But we've put a lot of one-time money to use for one-time salaries and benefits. We've also brought in a lot of permanent positions with our permanent revenues, and our salaries and benefits continue to go up. However, we also seen a huge increase in our supplies, and that's because, as you know, we have to budget all of our one-time money and our federal dollars as though we're going to spend every penny of it this year. Well, when we do that, we'll put it into supplies and services, or contracted services. So it's available. However, a lot of this is going to be left over at the end of the year, and we push it through to the next year so that it can be used. Because some of these dollars are eligible until like June of 2024. So we want to make sure that all of these programs and services that we've been putting in place with the one-time dollars, that we spread it along so that we have it to use for many years to come. Our multi-year projection is something that is came about a few years back when there were districts that were getting themselves in trouble, and it's a part of AB 1200. And so what we have here is you have to show your revenue and your expenditures, and it follows you through till you get to your ending balance. We want to make sure that we have a 3% reserve at the end, and we do. We have our required reserve, and above our required reserve, we're required to report that out in a public meeting, and we have 3.07%. Another thing that I try to give you guys is I try to tell you how much we've spent. We're about 67% of the way through the year, and our LCAP is divided into 4 goals. And we're 67% through, but you'll see that in goal 1, we're about 51% spent. You'll see that also in goal 2 for culture, we're about 56%. Climate is about 58%. And then you have engagement that's about 56%. Remember that those one-time dollars are in there. So you're not going to be right at the same target as you are for the year. And so where we used to look at it and say, oh, we're 67% through the year, we should have spent 67% of our expenditures. It's not as black and white anymore because you have to make sure that you're carrying some of those dollars over for future years. Some of the unknowns that we still have for the state is we still don't have the final percentage for the COLA. For the out 2 years, federal funding for schools. I understand that the federal government finally passed their budget, I think last Friday. So remember, their end of their fiscal year is September 30th. Well, they kept extending it and extending it and extending it and extending it. And so we really didn't even know how much we were getting, like in our Title I, Title II, Title III, and Title IV, because they hadn't passed their budget. But when I looked at that final budget today, I found that every one of our areas that we receive money in all got a slight increase. So it's like, okay, well, we've been projecting. We always build the budget based on a projection of what we received the year before, unless I've heard that any one of those programs are going to go down, and then I would reduce it. But we went the same as the funding was last year, and it looks like there's going to be a slight bump. So we'll see that. Also, remember that we are basing this second interim based on the January governor's budget. We still have to wait for the May revise, and that's what we'll do our budget when we come to you in June. And then the state will do its budget in June. So we'll make a revision. We have a 45-day window to make the revision, and you guys will get that in the month of August. Okay? So staffing projections versus final staffing, we're going to budget at the same rate as the outgoing staff is going. But when they come in, they could be at a higher step or at a lower step. So we try to do something in the middle, and then we'll have to make those variations. Improved in increased or improved services, those we still are putting together for next year. So I know that Dr. Bowers will get together with all the assistant soups and go over their budgets for their next year, and those still have not been finalized. So those are still a little bit of an unknown. We also always get an increase in all of our insurance, our liability insurance, our workman's comp, all of that increases every year, and I don't think that this year is going to be any different. PPE and other safety improvements, the pandemic seems to be slowing down just a little bit, and we seem to be getting but that doesn't mean it's gone. So we need to make sure that we have money in place so that in the event that there's another surge, we still have the money to provide that. So that's still an unknown because we don't know what this pandemic is going to do. Increased technology expenses. Through all of this pandemic, we've had a lot of online services. And so our equipment and our connections and the programs for technologies are probably twice as much as what we had before. Right, Rebecca? And so we want to make sure that we continue to utilize those dollars. And as we've gotten all of this new equipment, what we can't forget about is all of this equipment has a lifespan. So we're going to have to make sure that we can continue to upgrade as this equipment starts to go out of service. So that's something that is still an unknown. And I know that about 3 years ago, we really did a lot of, or actually, I guess it's been a little over 2. We increased all our technology by 3-fold. So here in a couple of years, that technology is going to need to be replaced. So we're going to have to make sure that we have a 5-year plan to make sure that we can keep all of this technology in serviceable condition and have the best that we can for our students. This is one slide that I'd like to take a little bit of time on. I hear Rebecca telling us how our enrollment is going up. Sounds good. It is, but the problem is that the students that we have enrolled are not coming to school at the rate that they were before. So if you look at 16-17 and 17-18, it was about 94% of the students were here 94% of the time. It waned a little bit in 18-19 and 19-20 down to 93%. Now you see that big number in 2021. Were the kids here 98% of the time? No. The reason it went up to 98 is because that's our hold harmless year. But when we actually go to this year and they talk about the cliff going into 22-23, our enrollment percentage of which is where we get our ADA is 86%. We are down 1,317 ADA. So even though remember we lost about 600 students last year and it's been coming up, but the students that we have are still not coming to school as regularly as they should. Now, 1,317 doesn't seem like a lot. It's staggering. It's about $16 million. And when you look at $16 million over a 3-year period, that's $48 million. Now, it's not quite that staggering because they have a rule in place where it's a 3-year average, so it won't quite hit us quite that hard, but it's not something we want to forget. It's something that we want to make sure that we keep in our minds, because what happens is when we start school next year, they're going to do it based on the estimate that they believe we're going to be getting. It's going to be on this 1,317 lower ADA. So from July through, say, December, you're going to be going on your projected for the year. Now, some people say, but it's not until P2. I looked at this historical data, and it doesn't go up more than about 15% up or down in the 10 years that I've been here. So we really can't rely on that. So we really got to watch what we're spending. We got to watch what we're doing. And remember, it's going to be, yes, they're going to average the 3 years, but here's the kicker. Yes, they're not going to look at what we actually have when the students come in on the second week of August. We're going to be getting it based on this lower ADA until they certify or recertify. Okay, so we're going to get a lot less money. That one-time money that we have gotten is going to have to try to buffer us a little bit. And it's not until we get to the P2 next year, if we can bring up the ADA, and this is what I was saying at first interim, if we can bring up that ADA by P2 next year, we will never feel the effects of this downslide. So it is more important than ever that we make sure that we use all of the attendance incentives that we have in place and put more attendance incentive money. We need to make sure that those kids are coming to school, because I hate to think of the thought that our kids were going to be doing with less, especially when all of our kiddos are going to start to come back to school. So it's something we need to keep our eye on. It's something that we have to put a good plan in place for attendance incentive for next year. And we want to make sure that we don't forget this. So this is what I was just talking to you a few minutes ago. I kind of put it in bullet form. Normally, the comparison is between the current year and the prior year. We've had the hold harmless. So what is happening is we're not looking at the current year or the prior year because they had the hold harmless. We're looking at what we had in 1920 versus what we have this year. So it's a 2-year span. So that's why they called it the cliff. Even though we lost student enrollment last year, we didn't feel it because they gave us the hold harmless. But now we're going to feel 2 years in a row. And that's why they've come out with this. We're glad that they do a 3-year average. Okay. Any questions?
Questions? I had a couple, but one of my questions is the STRS and PERS, the percentages, are those the same for every district, or is every district different?
They're the same for every district. That's a state retirement system. So they're the same for our district as any other district up and down the state.
And has there been any talk of adding more money to that from the state to kind of bring those numbers down?
There's always talk about it, but it doesn't always hit the budget. And so I don't take the waivers up and down as we go through this time period. I hear a lot of things that are coming down the pike, but until they actually hit the budget, we don't. But I will tell you that they've slowed down tremendously. You know, it looks like there's still a huge dive, increase for all of these. But remember, PERS, if I remember correctly, was supposed to be up at 23% 2 years ago. So they slowed down through the pandemic. But, everybody's looking at the pandemic and this money that's being spent for that. I think that there's going to be more eyes looking at some of the other issues that affect the budget as well. But that's still left to be seen. So as they go through all of this with all of the people up in Sacramento, we're just going to have to wait and see what they come through. But they have given us a little bit of buffer the last couple of years. So we just need to watch for that.
And the technology, I know that's a big expense now. It seems like I know before we were talking about eventually having one computer per student, and now with COVID, I think we've almost jumped to two computers. One for at home and one for at school. So it's gone up. We've met our goal, and but like you said, now it's maintaining it is the difficult part. Is that part of the books and supplies expenses?
Yes, it would go under the 4,300. So that is your books and supplies. Okay. Now, if the only time it would jump up into the services, into your 5,000s if it's over $500. But most of our student platform is far below that. So I believe they're all 4,300s.
And then so the attendance. So our attendance right now is about 14,090, I believe. But
that's our enrollment.
Enrollment, okay. But you're saying with the 86% attendance rate, that brings it down to 12 in the 12,000s. Is that that's where the difficult part is?
Now we don't get our money based on enrollment. We get our money based on ADA. Now, there is some talks up in Sacramento about funding at enrollment, but again, it's just talk. Until it actually hits the state budget, we still have to go based on enrollment. I want to back up just a little bit. I said something wrong just a couple minutes ago. I said if it's over 100, it goes into the 5,000s. It doesn't. It goes into the 44s. And I have somebody back in the back that I've been mentoring for a couple of years, and I'm sure she caught that. So I wanted to make sure I.
That was a good test right there. Good
There we
job.
go. Any other questions?
Thank you very much.
You're welcome. And if there's no further questions, I want to say thank you for the opportunity. It's been great. Farewell.
Sign out. You,
Say thank
you've
you.
led us well.
Thank you for your service.
Great report.
Get away that easy. Come back here.
Come back.
Come on. Come on.
Come on back. We're not going to let you off the hook
All
that
right.
easily.
So this has been one of those weeks where it's a happy week and it's a sad week. And we're happy for Ruby because, as you are aware, Ruby retires effective the end of March, but she's got some vacation days that she's going to use. So her last day with us is Friday this week. And so we've been celebrating Ruby all week. We had a breakfast yesterday morning. We're going to do a dinner later this week. We did a bunch of stuff last week. And we're happy for her in her retirement. She's heading off to Florida, where her husband is already waiting for her at the house with the pool. And her daughter lives in Florida too. And so she's going to be retiring and floating in the backyard for years and years and years to come. So I personally would like to say that the one thing that has made my job very simple is knowing that Ruby has been at the helm, monitoring and creating our budget. And I think the board can attest that when you know that Ruby's behind that budget, you breathe a little bit easier. And we're going to miss that level of expertise and that confidence that she brought to this district through the good times and the bad. Ruby was there taking care of things, and our budget numbers tonight show that we are still in a good position. So I would like everybody here to take a moment to express our appreciation for the 10 years of service that Ruby gave to this district and wish her well in retirement.
Excellent, excellent work. Thank you so much. Well, Ruby, if you ever make it back to this side of the states, you know you have a home. Please stop by and see us. Oh, good. Well, enjoy that Florida weather. It's nice. That's where my dad's at, so you're going to enjoy it there. Okay, next we have our Life Source Charter School update.
If you need.
Okay. Hello, everyone. Greetings to everyone. And Ruby, we started at the same time, remember? The same year. You're getting out. Take me with you, please. Congratulations, Ruby. It's been a pleasure working with you also. My name is Dr. Deborah Culpepper Afori. I'm the CEO and founder and special education teacher at Life Sources International Charter School. Seems like the longer I stay there, the more credentials I'm going to have to get to help my kids and make sure our kids get the education that they deserve. So I have Miss Hackett here, who is our new vice principal. This is her first year. She used to be a teacher. She taught fourth grade at Life Source for about 5, 6, 7 years? 8 years. She taught fourth grade 8 years at Life Source. Now she's the principal. And then that's Mrs. Warner passing everything out. And she's been at Life Source for about 5 years now. Something like that. Yeah. We have our accountant here, Miriam. So she's going to be presenting tonight. We have 2 of our board members. We have Mr. Patterson and Mr. Lang. So thank you for welcoming us here to talk a little bit about what's going on at Life Source. So I'm going to talk about a little bit about our dashboard. As you know, the dashboard is not really updated. So you asked for this information, so I just went to the earliest source, which was 1920. And our CAS scores for last school year, they were kind of dicey. I'll talk a little bit about that because the kids were at home trying to take the CAS. So it was a little bit, unreliable data. And then the national grade level diagnostic scores, those are NWEA scores that we have about 3 times a year to try to measure big benchmarks and see how our kids are learning throughout the year. Try to use these scores to create lessons and reteach if we need to. And then also the action plans for growth and stakeholder inclusion. So our training, I was asked to talk a little bit about what kind of training that we're having. And I really believe that a lot of our training really help our culture and climate become one of kindness, trust, and understanding. And we've been putting a lot of time. This is our second year going through the processes and systems of culturally responsive and the brain. And so we had a book read all last year. And then this year we're actually implementing it. And I see a huge difference in the way our teachers practice and relate to the parents, relate to the community at large, relate to the kids. It's an excellent theory, is an excellent system to put in place. So in preparing culture responsive practitioners, I do the training. I do the training myself because I really went in deep with this concept. I really felt like it was something that our community needed. There was such a divide between our teachers and their experiences and their background and our students' experiences and their background. And then we were actually able to give our teachers tools to build trusting relationships. And I really believe that once those trusting relationships were built, kids were happy to learn. They were happy to learn for their teachers. The teachers were more understanding and more patience with their students, their scholars. And so that's what we're doing. And I think that's why a lot of our teachers have been there as long as Ms. Hackett has. We've only been in existence for about 10 years. And so I believe Ms. Hackett and a lot of our teachers are still there because they're able to just build loving relationships with scholars. And so we talk a lot about building relationships, trust, understanding, information processing to build intellectual capacity. One of the things I found very intriguing and resonated with me when I was learning about how to do this is that there is a certain way that certain students learn. And you have to know your students, you have to know their background, you have to know how were they taught at home. And then you connect to those processes that their parents actually, the way their parents taught them at home. And that's not a hard thing to do. It's just you have to see how important it is and make time to do it. And so we gave our teachers skills to find out how does the student learn? And not particularly a learning style, but a cultural style of learning. And so we were able to teach our teachers how to do that. And they felt more comfortable in all the processes that we gave them. But independent learners and productive struggle, we know that, especially for low socioeconomic children, and especially with children with IEPs, sometimes there's not a lot of expectations in the classroom for those particular kids. And so we were able to put practices and strategy in place for the teacher and for the students to make those students independent learners, because we know mainly the achievement gap between low socioeconomic kids and kids who are middle class or who thrive in the education system, those kids who thrive are independent learners. They believe in themselves. And so teachers, we train our teachers to actively and just continuously and conscientiously make our scholars independent learners. And they have to go through that productive struggle as well. It's not holding hands, but a productive struggle that grows the brain, grows neurons and dendrites. And it's a whole process that goes on when the brain matures, the brain matures when there's a productive struggle. So holding our kids' hand, holding our kids' kids with IEP's hands, enabling them, it was causing a serious achievement gap. But once we learned how to allow our kids to go through a productive struggle and give effective feedback when needed, our kids just became stronger learners in the classroom. And the classroom became a safe place for everyone to learn. So, and also creating socially and intellectually safe classrooms, community that encourages students to take more cognitive risk. And so it's all about the brain, how the brain works, how the brain works culturally. So this is our dashboard. We're in the middle of the road. I put middle of the road with a sunny disposition. We're happy to be in the middle of the road, but it's not enough. This year, I am looking at being in the green, everyone moving because we've moved from red to orange. So even before the pandemic, I was looking forward to being in the green, but of course that didn't happen. But this year, I believe everybody's going to move forward with all the new training and things that we have. We did a virtual at-home CAS test, and only, as you can see from these numbers, only about 2% completed it. I think there's one grade level where 6%, ELA and math, about 6% completed. So these are pretty dismal numbers, but it was impossible because the kids didn't know how to get on there, find the test. There's, a lot of things that you need an adult or a teacher to do. So that's why, but we gave it the old college try. So I talked a little about NWEA. We have an entry level assessment in order to find out who's at grade level, who needs extra help. We try to do that all at the beginning of the school year with our NWEA assessment. We got some really good data from that. We had our benchmark assessment somewhere around December, and this is a comparison of the two diagnoses that we've taken. And I'm really impressed to see that if you look at the green and blue, that means that about 26% of our students are already at grade level. And they're already either proficient or advanced. If you look at the orange color, they're about 37% are near grade level, and then the 37%. And that's for diagnostic 1. But if you look at the line of diagnostic 2, you see all these numbers either increase or diminish, and that shows us what the kids are actually learning. And then we take these scores and it actually breaks down to skill sets. So we know exactly what skills that need to be taught and what grade and what skills need to be retaught as well. So we take that, we collaborate, the whole teaching staff collaborate on what needs to be retaught for that grade level. And I believe these are the math proficiency scores. And the same, we have the diagnostic 1 that was done in August, and then we have the diagnostic 2 that's done. And there's growth, but I believe we're going to see a lot more growth come June. And this is writing. The numbers are really high in writing. I believe that about 36% of our scholars are already proficient or advanced in writing, grade level, and about another 30 for diagnostic 2. It was about the same thing, 30%. So I'm going to hand slides over to Ms. Hackett, and she's going to tell you a little bit about our enrollment data.
Thank you. All right. As of February 3rd, this is our total enrollment. 301. You can see the breakdown for the grade levels. Everything is pretty straightforward, except kindergarten. Traditional kindergarten is 30, and then transitional kindergarten is 10. Our average daily attendance rates, I have up to month 4. So we've hovered around the 90s. Month one, we were at 90%, two at 91.5%, and then at 92.6, and then back to 90%. Going along with that, chronic absenteeism, the percentage. Now, we didn't have anything in August. Our first day of school was August 30th, so we only had 2 days that month. But for the rest of it, we were at 17%, and then we've kind of hovered around 34%. The rest of the months, that's about where we stopped. We were still at the time that we were preparing, still finalizing January, which was a very, very difficult month coming out of the COVID surge and everything. Concerning our discipline data, as of February 25th, there were 28 suspensions. So you can kind of see how things went up. January was also a difficult month, and then we've gone back down. And then concerning our demographics, our English language learners, there's about a few in each class. And then in terms of our homeless students, this is combined with the students that are maybe doubling up or in a residence with more than one family, as well as students that may be in maybe a motel or in a different placement. And then our numbers for socioeconomically disadvantaged students are pretty self-explanatory, but our numbers at the school in general are mostly African American and Hispanic students. We're about 60% or so African American, and the rest is mostly Hispanic, with a very small minority of other. And then in special education, these are our numbers. And I also wanted to mention, this kind of goes back to what Dr. Culpepper mentioned about the training that we have for our paraprofessionals. Paraprofessionals, they do support our teachers and our scholars in the classroom. The goal that we were always striving for is that they support the scholars 80% of the time. So whether that's helping our English language learners or students who have IEPs, a majority of that time we want them to spend directly helping the scholars. So they may do small group, they may do some assistance with whole group, and obviously it's very important that they do support the teachers with clerical, maybe grading and assisting in that way. But the majority of the help would be for the instructional piece. The paraprofessionals attend the same professional development training at the beginning of the school year that the teachers attend. So we wanted to make sure that all of the teaching staff was elevated and empowered in that sense, that they knew exactly what was going on in the classroom, that they were able to provide support to the scholars because they are trained and well-versed in the curriculum that we are working with. Our paraprofessionals also attend weekly staff meetings and with the teaching staff. And then on a monthly basis, we also have support staff meetings for them. So. All right. And at this point in time, I think we're moving on to the financial portion where Miriam will take over.
I want to preface Miriam's presentation just to get some heat off her right quick, that our student enrollment dropped quite a bit. I think it dropped by 60 or 70 kids this year. Am I correct? So, of course, we're a small school. That's a big hit to our budget. But fortunately, we've been pretty wise and frugal. And so we have, enough revenue. We're not, suffering as far as not having our reserve in place and things like that. So we still have a pretty nice revenue in place right now, although our enrollment dropped. And also, it was intentional for our enrollment drop. We actually have a waiting list. but we were potting, we were going by CDC guidelines. We were doing the potting, we were doing the spacing. So many kids can be in a classroom. So we didn't enroll any new students. And for the whole year, we didn't add any new students because everybody was testing weekly. Do we still test weekly? We still test every week on Wednesday. Everybody gets a COVID test on Wednesdays. So we didn't want to have new people coming in and out of that dynamic. So that's why our enrollment dropped the way it did. And also, some great news. We just got rewarded a $2.5 million grant from social services. So that's really going to be a nice buffer for us for next school year in case this, type of environment persists for next school year.
Good evening, everyone. So today we'll be discussing the January financials for LifeSource International Charter School, which is the same information that was reported on their second interim. And I wanted to start off with some highlights for January. So the school at the end of January 2022 had a positive cash balance of $1.07 million. They also had a surplus position for the month end of January of $205,000. They do have a projected deficit for the end of the year, 6/30/22, of $763,000, and I'll be speaking in more detail about that. It's mainly due to the strategic decision that Dr. Culpepper had mentioned about social distancing and maintaining a safe learning environment for students during the pandemic. And we're slated to finish up the audit, the annual audit on March 31st, 2022. Moving on to some attendance data. We did see, according to the P1 Fall 2021 numbers, the estimated number was 297.48, down from the P2 numbers for 2020 of 376.84. This school did cap the enrollment below the initial budget in response to COVID. And I did want to mention that the August 2021 through January 2022, the funding for state aid is based on the P2 2020 number. So we're going to see, the effects of the drop in ADA come February through May of 2022. And this translates to a projected decrease in state aid of about $937,000 for the year. Looking at revenue, I wanted to bring to the board that the school did receive their first apportionment for the Educator Effectiveness Grant of $56,000. We went ahead and recognized that revenue in January. And as mentioned, there is a decrease in state aid revenue forecasted due to that lower ADA. On the expenditures side, we have certificated salaries are underspent in January 2022, but year to date, they are overspent. Most of that was attributed to a spike in December, but in January, the expenditures for that category of salaries actually reverted back to normal levels and spending. The classified salaries are trending under budget due to some staffing vacancies. In January 2022, we had higher sub-agreement services due to higher security and other educational consulting costs. Operational costs in January were pretty comparable to December of 2021. And there were some significant cost savings in the professional consulting services in January and expected to be underspent for the year by $158,000. Large chunks of that are the $41,000 that we have budgeted for special activities and field trips as well as 31,000 in professional development that due to COVID safety preventions might not be taking place. So there's some savings there. There's also $18,000 in recruitment savings that's anticipated for this fiscal year. For the fund balance, we do have a projected deficit, as I mentioned, of $763,000 for the year. But they had a healthy, the school has a healthy reserve, and at the end of January, it's 1.94 million. At the end of the fiscal year, it'll be at 1.99 million. And there's a positive cash balance, as mentioned before, of 1.07 million for the end of January 2022. And for the year, a projected cash on hand at 6/30 of 978,000. Okay.
I just have one clarifying question on your projected year-end balance. Does that reflect your anticipated deficit?
I'm sorry. The 763,000?
Yes.
That accounts for a decrease in state aid due to the drop in ADA.
Right. So you're on this last slide for cash balance year end, it shows you're anticipating 978. So
Yes.
that's inclusive of, that's factoring in that deficit.
That deficit, correct.
Thank you.
You're welcome. ADA. It's just, it's in the talks now. It hasn't, you know, yeah.
Deborah, I just need to ask you to come to the speaker, to the microphone so that the board can hear you. Thank you.
So there's been talk about paying the apportionments based on the enrollment opposed to the ADA. And so if that happens, then none of this really applies. We're all good. But so I just want to make that statement.
Yeah.
Hopefully they do that right.
Yeah. So just to clarify, they would be in a surplus position if that does pass. Yes. Any more questions?
I had a question about the school, but not the budget.
Okay.
So will you guys be participating in the CASP test at the school in person
Yes.
this year? Okay, just
Definitely.
okay. Thank you.
You're welcome. Any other questions about the school?
Just one other question. I know that we've all been kind of rebounding from COVID, and I understand your decrease in enrollment. What are your enrollment projections for next year? What are you working towards?
I project an increase of about 100 students next school year. We're starting our open enrollment campaign. We are actively enrolling kids right now. Kids from the waiting list, new kids who want to come. And so we have a whole marketing strategy plan to enroll at least 100 kids. So typically we're at about 370 or 400 kids.
Right.
Fluctuates between that number. So
Okay. Thank you.
Thank you.
Hey, any other questions or comments? Okay, great presentation. Yeah, thank you.
Thank you very much.
Okay, next we're going to addressing the board, and board members will be utilizing electronic devices during the meeting to access the online agenda, and an electronic device may be used to record this meeting. Individuals who wish to address the board may complete a speaker card and present it to the superintendent secretary. The board president shall recognize individuals who wish to speak Individuals wishing to present testimony to the board concerning specific items on the agenda may do so once that item has been moved, seconded, and is on the floor for discussion. Time limits of 3 minutes per person and 20 minutes per item shall be allowed, according to Board Bylaws 9322. And board members may ask questions for clarification purposes. However, no action may be taken and no discussion may take place on an item not on the proposed agenda, according to the Brown Act. With that, do we have comments from PTA,
None this evening?
CSCA,
No comments this evening?
TAL,
No request this evening.
and comments from the audience?
We do have speaker cards. The first request is from Rebecca Sutherland.
Good evening. Can you hear me?
Yes.
My name is Rebecca Sutherland. I am a mother of four, recently a grandmother of my fourth grandchild, teacher employed by the Lancaster School District for over 30 years as a substitute. Some of you know me, others may not. This boardroom is strange because it's not the one on Cedar, but the boardroom overall is no strange place for me, as my daughters have delivered winning speeches there, as well as being acknowledged for their achievements in PTA reflections contests and other honors. I have served as room mom in 4 different classrooms all through the years. PTA president Sunnydale, PTO president New Vista, was even honored as district volunteer of the year in the room on Cedar under Superintendent Goki. I've enjoyed many strong friendships with board members, administrators, teachers, staff, parents, and children in this district for many, many years. Many are like family to me, but I felt compelled to come and share my heavy heart with you this evening. Almost 2 years ago to date, on Friday, March 13th, Friday the 13th, I substituted at John Miller when I was informed that the schools were shutting down due to COVID. I was greatly disappointed as I was scheduled to sub the following week. Because teaching has always been my passion and children of utmost importance. I would have had probably more than 4 kids. But when schools reopened to virtual learning and subs were being called, I chose not to return to the empty classroom with only a computer in front of me, as I felt ill-equipped to adequately teach via Zoom and be effective with students isolated at home. And then when students were able to return to campus, I once again answered the subfinder's call to teach, but with required mask and students sitting separately behind plexiglass. The saddened eyes of the children peering above their soiled masks, whose muffled voices I couldn't hear or understand, hampered any learning that could take place that day. A few students in that second grade class didn't even know their letters or sounds, so how were they going to be able to read grade level material? I witnessed firsthand the tremendous toll the shutdown had inflicted upon the children, not only academically, but emotionally, socially, and physically. Their identities were being hidden by a physical covering that was meant to protect them and those around them, but in actuality were harming them. I once heard from the director of Prison Fellowship, a Christian ministry to those incarcerated, that the greatest common factor in the prison population is whether the young male, the boys, was able to read by the 3rd grade. Not even a fatherless home was the main factor. And that's how important literacy and education is to one's success as a productive citizen. How I wanted to wrap all those precious children sequestered and isolated at home, some with no caring adults in their lives, like our foster care kids, and teach them to read in my own backyard, if I could. I was doing grandma duty, so I couldn't. The devastation inflicted upon the children may never be recovered, especially for those who have taken their own lives from depression, anxiety, hopelessness, from elementary age to high schoolers. The suicide rate is the #1 cause of death now in the ages 10 to 24. And now school districts have personnel trained in social emotional health to address these issues that the masks have only exacerbated. Shouldn't have been that have been their concern all along? We were created to be in relationship with one another, not distancing, not isolated, beginning with the basic family unit. I believe parenting is the most important job one could ever have. After watching the last two school board meetings online last night, I stayed up until 2 a.m. I felt compelled to come tonight to publicly applaud and support all those moms, dads, and children who have stood up against the mask, vaccine mandates, and ill treatment by school staff because of their stance. But I also want to speak out for those children who unfortunately do not have a loving parent, advocate at home, as so many of our students are in foster care. Yes, I am thankful that the plexiglass was finally removed. I heard the mask mandate lifted this week, but the fear that perpetuated these restrictions in the first place still remains. Will the vaccine mandates now be forced on our children, or even worse, be administered to these kids without parental consent or knowledge? As was mentioned by a parent before, she's not here, never have these destructive measures ever taken place in our community, state, nation in my lifetime. I'm a senior. The lies and deception through this pandemic seems to be eradicated by the facts. Do your research. Parents in our community need to hear the truth. So it is tonight I strongly urge you as our local school board elected by the people to be bold, stand up for what is right and true on behalf of our children and teaching staff from this day forward, and see each individual child as they are, fearfully, wonderfully made in the image of God. For all of us will be accountable to Him one day if we have offended the least of these. Thank you for taking time to hear my heart.
Thank you.
Thank you very much. The next speaker is Christine Parkinson.
Hello.
Thank you. Okay, is this good? Okay. I'm just going to wait until these are passed out. If you can open them when you receive them. What's inside those are yellow stars that represent people, Jewish people and unclean people that were killed during the Holocaust. First, they said we weren't allowed in swimming pools. So we said, okay, we can swim in lakes. Then they said you can't swim, you can't sing inside certain buildings. So we said, okay, we can sing somewhere else. Then they said our children can't play with theirs. So we said, okay, they can play amongst themselves. Then they said, we cannot enter stores until after 5 p.m. And we said, okay, there's less for us to choose from, but at least we still get food. A few bystanders agreed, but many more just stood and remained silent. Most people talk about the end, but I will never forget the beginning. The feeling of confusion, the rules that never made much sense, how we were suddenly excluded from places and other people, and all it took was a single step, but then it became one step at a time. That was written by Marian Tursky, a Polish Holocaust survivor, 1941. First, they said 2 weeks to slow the spread. So we said, okay, we can do this to protect others. Then they said, you are non-essential, and closed our businesses and our schools. And we said, okay. Then they said, you must wear a mask. Once again, we said, okay, if it will protect others, we will. Then they said, you must have the shot to protect others from getting infected. Some said, okay, because the government said the shot was 95% effective. Then they said, you must show a passport to enter businesses. Some didn't care that others were excluded. Now they want to say with assembly bills, you must be vaccinated to work or attend schools. A few bystanders agree, but many more just stand there and remain silent. And I will never forget this feeling of confusion, the mandates that don't make sense, and how we are suddenly excluded from places and other people. All it took was a single step, but then it became a step, one step at a time. And from your school district's website, while the governor has not spoken recently about mandated vaccination for staff and students, it is possible that this may come to fruition for the 22-23 school year. The district will evaluate any vaccine mandates and respond accordingly. Well, I read today, Pfizer is now recommending a 4th booster shot for older citizens. Are you willing to make a drug that is not an authorized medication an annual shot in order for a student to enroll in school? A medication that has over 1 million adverse side effects and over 20,000 deaths related to it? Are you willing to subject kids to various heart issues, pericarditis, myocarditis, and paralysis? If an individual wants that vaccine, let them do that, but do not force it on our children and do not force it on people that do not want it. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you very much. Our next speaker is Carla Galvin.
Thank you. Good evening. My name is Carla Galvin. First, I want to thank the two board members, you know who you are, that actually try to get my kids back in school sooner than March 14th. And for the others who did nothing, Mr. Freeze, Mr. Wynn, Miss Grooms, Miss Bowers, shame on you for trying to take my children's rights for 19 days. Mr. Wynn, you made a comment on the last board meeting saying how there are only 15 to 20 people who are present speaking, but there are 15,000 others whose opinions are not being shared. I want to know, where are all these people? Why aren't they here if they think it is important to voice their opinions? Ms. Groom, you also stated that you had to consider the parents who want masking and that you would feel two-faced if you voted for the resolution. So this only means you're not considering the parents and the people who show up here all the time and speak. We are here because we care for our children. Tell me, where are all those parents that are for these mandates whose opinions you are considering, but you've never heard from? You guys also put out a statement asking parents, guardians, students, and staff to please be respectful of each other's different views. And that is hypocritical and two-faced, because did any of you respect my children's different views? No, you did not. What you continuously did was deny my kids an education for 19 days. So don't be hypocrites and ask for something you couldn't do. I hope that this does not happen again and you don't try to follow a vaccine mandate again, not a law, because let me tell you that I will continue to show up and take appropriate actions and let everyone know of your evil intentions, and you will not silence me or my kids. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. Our next speaker is Nicholas Polito.
Hi, good evening. My name is Nicholas. I am in the 3rd grade. I want to say thank you to everyone that has supported my siblings and I. My mom read the summary that you guys posted on the Lancaster School District website, and I realized you guys made a mistake. You wrote that I wanted to know what was the intention was in calling the sheriffs on the protesters at Westwind. That is incorrect, because we weren't protesting at that time. My exact words were, Mr. Larry Freeze. I wanted to know, what was your intention on calling the sheriffs on us? Did you want my mom to get arrested in front of us? You guys didn't include Mr. Larry Freeze. And also, that was my mom who he wanted to get arrested in front of us. That is why it is very important for me that you fix this mistake. I also wanted to tell you, even though you took 19 days away from my Christian learning, I gained so much knowledge and met wonderful people. I am very happy to be back in school. Yesterday felt like the first day of school. I got my freedom back, and I want to tell you, I will never stop fighting for my freedom, and you can't take it away from me. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you very much. Our next speaker is Jaylene Davidson. Thank you.
Mr. Williams? As a 5-minute state, you have all been served. We have come to you multiple times, and we have told you that these children need to be free, that you have bullied them, that you have divided them, and that you have separated them. The mask came off, had nothing to do with you. You just followed orders again. And in the meantime, while the mask did come off, I would like to give you examples of how you continue to divide, to bully, and separate our children. Your principals recently sent out letters saying that masks were going to be a choice. But for children who still chose to wear the mask, please be kind to them. Do not make them feel bad. Do not make them feel guilty in any way. Wow. It's so nice that you showed concern for them, and I think that's great. But not once were children who choose to be free mentioned in that. But you guys aren't causing division, right? You had an employee who actually gave extra credit for people who wore masks. It was reported. I'm sure they told him not to do it. So today he decided for anyone who wore a mask, he would give them candy. How in the world do you think this is acceptable behavior? I was very pleased to serve each and every one of you tonight, and I would recommend every parent follow suit. It is time for you guys to be held accountable, because even with the mandates going away, you're still separating these children. You're still being the cause of division. How can you do that? You should all be ashamed of yourselves. This is supposed to be a job where you have a calling to protect these kids. Where is that? You know that mandates are not laws. This was never about the mask. This was freedom of choice. And now you still tell everybody to be aware because you're just waiting for the governor again on vaccines. When did you think a 5-year-old or a 10-year-old having a stroke or a heart attack was supposed to be the new normal? Shame on you. You guys are supposed to be mandated reporters. This shot has given strokes and heart problems and blood clots to other people, but you're willing to put it into your schools for kids. That's okay. No, it's not okay. It's really not okay. I have tried to express to people feelings because I want to scream. I want to cry. I am so sad for everybody and so angry at how you're carrying yourself and what you're doing. I really wish you would resign and give these jobs to people who want to protect our kids. Because you're not doing it. I would love for any of you to tell me why letters went out from the schools telling everybody about masked children, but didn't mention anything about the children taking off the mask. I can almost guarantee you, not one of you can answer that. And I can't prove it yet, but I'm sure that those letters that came from the principals started in your office. Shame on you. Even, last week when I handed you a picture of a child expressing that you took their voice away, you couldn't be bothered to look at it, Mr. Freeze. Tonight, when she handed you a yellow star, You looked at it and you threw it aside because it's not your problem. Just like our children don't seem to be your problem. I am still praying, as mad as I am still praying for each and every one of you that you will do the right thing, that you will do what God has called you to do. But I'm not going to hold my breath. And I am ashamed that you represent our schools. I'm ashamed. And for you that weren't served, you were not served because you have been in this fight with us from the beginning. And I thank you for that. But this fight isn't over. If you thought it ended with the mask, you're wrong. And I'm here to tell you, we're not going to stop fighting for the rights of these children and to protect them because we can't trust you to do that. God help you all.
Thank you. Our next speaker is Mark Napolitano.
Oh, no.
Oh,
Adjust it.
thank you. So, good evening, board. Just a little kicker reminder. We all are aware that the board of supervisors just voted to eliminate 1,800, right? County employees, 18,000. Yeah, see, we're all disposable, right? We're not essential, just like that. So it's probably time you guys wake up and start standing up for yourselves. I don't know what to tell you. My name is Mark Napolitano. As a local tax-paying citizen, I am both shocked and ashamed at the board's lack of leadership. Why is it that you all are afraid, well, except for a few of you, to stand up and fight? You say you're here for the children and your staff. However, you've had multiple opportunities to prove your worth. Isn't this something we all believe is an important quality to teach our children to stand up and fight for what you believe in, which makes that only two of you are willing to stand up and fight against these Senate bills that are allowing children to make medical decisions before becoming adults and enforcing a non-FDA approved emergency use authorization medicine, not a vaccine, upon our children, not yours or the government's children. The science we're told to trust yet not question has not only proved that children are the least likely to die from this virus, it has also proven this medicine is not effective as they assumed it would be. Also, some side effects are or can be more damaging than your own immune system fighting the virus. I am proud to be a member of a group of patriots that stood up in Palmdale. We presented an ordinance to the city that banned vaccine passports for shopping and employment, as well as discriminatory testing for citizens that believe in medical choice over fear and scare tactics. I truly hope God provides you all with the strength and courage to stand up and fight against Senate Bill 866, which allows children 12 and up to vaccinate, even though it's not a vaccine, without parental consent or knowledge. SB 871 mandates C19 inoculation to attend in-person schooling, removes personal belief exemptions as currently allowed by law for newly added vaccines. SB 1479 requires schools to continue discriminatory C19 testing. Assembly Bill 1993, which I will go down fighting for extremely because I am not putting this poison in my body, mandates the C19 inoculation for employees and independent contractors. AB 1797 development of a state immunization registry. It's kind of like those gold stars you guys all got. You know, you could go here, but you can't go there. Yeah. Nonsense. Nonsense. You guys ready to fight? Yeah. Hope so. AB 2098 disciplines doctors for sharing misinformation. Who determines the misinformation? Like all the people that have been lying to us for the last 2 years? We're supposed to learn from history and not repeat it. Yet, American politicians and other figures like board members are in proud support of Nazi America and promoting segregation by enforcing, testing, and advocating for any of these bills, which I personally feel are unethical and unconstitutional. If you remember the Holocaust, then you should remember the Nuremberg Code, which enforcing any of this nonsense, which you all are guilty of for the past 2 years and continuing. All these bills and everything else that I just read are direct violations of the Nuremberg Code. No government can mandate or force medical treatment without individual consent. Right? So now we're just going to let the 12-year-olds and older decide what they get to do because, let's just silence the parents. They don't matter. The government rules everything. No, that's wrong. It's not the great nation that was founded in America. The time is now to stand up and fight for the children, the parents, and your employees. And then I just want to touch on, is the one-time money referred to tonight part of the $85,605,535.06 received under the American Rescue Plan Act that I did inquire a treasurer's report on last month? Is that the one-time money? Is that why everyone's so quiet and unwilling to stand up and fight for the children and for the parents and all your employees? It's ridiculous. Anyways, may God continue to bless each and every one of you. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. And that concludes our speaker cards. I do have a write-in response that I would like to read. This is from Laura Giles, and it reads as follows. Good evening. My kids were so happy to go to school on Monday and have the choice of whether to wear a mask or not. Happy to be able to see their friends and their teachers' faces. I'm looking forward to them coming home and not complaining of headaches. 2 of my children wore their glasses to school for the first time in 2 years. Masks are optional because parents, community members, and teachers from all over California in many different school districts argued for masks to be optional. Masks are not optional because this school board was able to pass a resolution and join the 44 other districts in pushing back against anti-science restrictions imposed by LA County Health Officer and the California Department of Health. This board had the opportunity to vote on a mask optional resolutions twice. 2 board members approved and the same 2 board members opposed the resolution both times. The last time these board members opposed the resolution, masks were going to be optional in 12 days anyway. They opposed it even though there were several parents, community members, and teachers asking them to approve the resolution. They opposed it even though not one speaker asked for them to oppose the resolution. Every single one of the speakers that shows up at these board meetings does so by great effort and personal inconvenience. They give up their time, get sitters, or bring their children with them. They sit through presentations and wait patiently for the opportunity to speak. I speak for myself on the issue of public speaking, but it is not easy to speak in front of the school board and the audience. It takes courage to get up and speak out against the mandates. I personally agonize over every word. I try to be respectful. I try to present evidence. And when I can't be here in person, I submit a letter to be read. Speakers should be listened to with your full attention, and you should act on behalf of them and not some imagined group that doesn't bother to come and show up and speak. I have also emailed both of you with no response, not even an acknowledgement of receiving the email. I have not heard you present any evidence of research that you have done that contradicts the parents' concerns or that contradicts what is stated in the resolution. Did you even bother to consider what the speaker said, or was your mind already made up on opposing the resolution before the meeting? The resolution did not ban masks. It did not even require you to take any action other than letting our health officer at the county and state level know that there are parents that want masks to be optional, just as they were optional everywhere else in the community. The community update stated that parents will be allowed on the campus after spring break, but only for essential activities, and will require a negative COVID test done by the Wellness Center in their presence, or a vaccine and booster, or wear an N95 mask the entire time. At the same time, children will now be allowed to go on field trips out in the community where masks and vaccines are no longer required. Why the hypocrisy? Open the schools to parents using the same criteria as gyms, restaurants, grocery stores, and movie theaters, all frequented by children and teachers. As a district, you should make every effort to include parents in their child's education and not cause unnecessary division between schools and parents. Please return our children's schools to normalcy in every aspect for students and parents. Thank you, Laura Giles. And that concludes our speaker comments.
Okay, thank you. Thank you. You have 2 minutes. Please approach the microphone. And please state your name.
Walter Lara. I'd given her my ID and everything. I heard that little boy speak. How old are you? How old are you? 9? Well, I came to this country when I was 9 years old, from El Salvador. Okay. I've been in prison, jail. 3 months ago, my friend died from there's this drug called fentanyl. Do not do drugs. Okay. I've been in jail and stuff, so I need to speak. God, I'm sick of apologizing and things like that. What do you know about the governments? How much do the governments know? For example, what do you know about the governments? Well, how much do the governments know?
Sir, please
I'm gonna close my eyes, okay?
Okay.
Are you guys speaking about God, the Lord, everything? School? Well, I have a 14-year-old daughter. She wants to transgend into a boy, which I'm old school, you know what I mean? So at first I was kind of like, but I have to support her because that's her mind, you know? She's her life. But when I see her body, you know, her chest, she's like, she has broad shoulders like me. She's 14, right? She has broad shoulders. And her name is Michaela Lee Lara. She has broad shoulders. I feel for her, you know what I mean? She's kind of big breasted. I want her to live a good life. So I back her up, I support her. But nowadays, social media, what's going on in this life, it's crazy. I mean, kids nowadays don't even play outside no more. You know what I mean? Oh, do I look fat to you? Do I look fat to you guys? Like really fat? Well, if I go to Rite Aid, I'm obese. The eye's deceiving. Okay, little guy, I'm talking to you because this is how deep it is. The eye's deceiving. Smoking cigarettes is bad. Drugs are bad. I'm talking about like, for me, smoking a cigarette, I get dazed. That's how deep this is. The government, talk about music, you know what I mean? Maybe I'm talking too much, but what can I say? I don't want to apologize to you guys because I've been through a lot. Like I said, I'm a crybaby. For instance, just call me a crybaby because I cry a lot. I don't cry because I'm scared of a human being or something like that. You know, governments. I cry because I've been around the streets a lot. I'm 52. You know, I've been in gangs. No, not in gangs. I've been I know gangbangers. I've been in clubs, you know. So much things. I could sit here all night. I've written children's stories. I make beats. To make a long story short, like, there's not much more to say. I asked about garments, what you know about garments. Well, nowadays, what do you know about the universe? Known universe. How old is the known universe as we know it? It's 14 billion years old, right? That's the universe as we know. Religion is what? How old is the earth? Does anyone know how old the earth is?
Sir, I'm going to have to ask you to wrap it up.
Okay, well, anyways, they just found out a galaxy older than the universe. So what does that tell you? Do the math. There's a universe. Now they found a galaxy older than the universe. The father of creation, music. Let's go to music. I'll wrap it up right now. Just remember that. Remember that. You guys have recorded this? The universe, known universe is 14 billion years old. Goes to show how our teachers, you guys talk about the teachers, the teaching. Our schools are messed up. You know, my daughter, I don't want her to hurt herself. I feel for children that are not straight. They're gay, whatever it may be, because society is telling them different things. I'm a man. I'm a human. I'm a human, right? You see me a human, right? Well, let me tell you something. There's more to what we see. Like, first of all, the governments. There's aliens. When I say aliens, like my daughter told me, "Daddy, you believe in aliens?" You know what I told her? Mama, there's only illegal aliens, being like Mexicans, stuff like that. It's kind of funny, but it's not. Because
okay, sir.
I'm leaving. You know,
time is up.
I'm gonna apologize, but telling me this. Little guy, talking to you. There is aliens. There's illegal aliens. This water's been under this Antelope Valley has been under water many times. Okay, I'll wrap it up. Thank you, little guy.
Thank you.
Okay, can you use the restroom? They have my ID there. I'm just gonna wash my face real quick, you know. Stay away from drugs. Okay, little guy. See your teeth? Can I see your teeth? Okay.
Thank you very much. That concludes our comments this evening, and we are moving on to individual action items.
Okay, thank you. Next, we have individual action items. Superintendent, adoption of resolution 2021-22. Resolution of the Board of Trustees of the Lancaster School District authorizing the issuance of not to exceed 12 million aggregate principal amount of community facilities, district number 2004-1 of the Lancaster School District Special Tax Bonds, 2022 Series A prescribing the terms thereof, approving various financing documents, and providing for other matters related thereto.
Motion.
So moved. I mean, second.
Second by Mr. Giles. Do we have any discussion?
Yes, we do. This is a presentation. This is a presentation that was shared with you by CFW at the last board meeting, and I am pleased to say that they are here again this evening. We have Kush from CFW, and we have a representative from Bond Council because I wanted them to be here in case the board had any follow-up questions regarding this resolution. So they are here at your disposal if there were any clarifying questions that you would like to ask or have them go over again prior to your vote.
So as I understand it, this is for a bond that's already out there. It would just enable us to access more of the money sooner to help pay off for our facilities needs. Excuse me. but then it will go against the bond that's already out there. Is that correct?
Yes, please approach the microphone, Kush. Thank you.
Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. I'm Kush Kara with CFW. Very pleased to be here tonight, and thank you for inviting me back. As Dr. Bowers had pointed out, we had presented some information to you the last time we were here. And you are correct, sir. What this proposal is, if the district were to adopt the resolution tonight, it would allow staff to get working towards issuing bonds against an existing stream of cash flow. So you would not be raising taxes on the community. You are already collecting the taxes. The district absolutely has the option to collect those taxes in a stream over time and fund your improvements over time. Or just like with a home mortgage, you could borrow against that stream of payments in the future. You could accelerate that funding, have that funding available at this time, pay back the principal and interest over time, and use those dollars today to be able to make facilities improvements. So yes, sir, you were correct on that one. And also the reason Dr. Bowers had invited Mr. Beck from Nixon Peabody, you had asked us to come back conditionally if two conditions could be met. Number one was you wanted to be sure that the funds could be utilized as the board sees fit and as at the school sites that have the need as determined by you. And number two, that the COP, which is currently being paid by the Melrose taxes, would have the first priority on those tax revenues, so that you would not have an impact on the general fund if delinquencies exceed the 10% threshold that is being allowed for already. Bond counsel has come to the conclusion that both those can be met. Both those are reflected in your resolution. And if there's any more detailed questions, I'm not going to risk practicing law without a license. I'll turn it over to Mr. Beck if you have any specific questions related to the bonds. But long answer to your question, sir, the short answer is yes.
Okay, that answered all my questions. Any other questions?
I don't have any questions, but I do want to just mention that on this particular item, as it does state in the resolution, this does need to be a roll call vote. So you'll have to get an individual response from each of the board members, please.
Okay, thank you very much. And with that, we'll call it for the vote.
Okay. Mrs. Grooms on item 13A, how do you vote?
Aye.
Mr. Giles, how do you vote?
Aye.
Mr. Teepee, how do you vote?
Aye.
Mr. Nguyen, how do you vote? Thank you very much. Item 13A passes with a vote of 4-0.
Thank you, ladies and gentlemen.
Thank you.
And
appreciate it.
thank you, Kush. Thank you, Mr. Beck. Appreciate your support.
Okay, with that, we're going to be opening up a public hearing about implementing school facilities fees. We're going to open the hearing at 8:23. And do we have any public input at this time?
Mr. TP, in 1986, AB 2926 was passed, which granted school districts the ability to impose developer fees. And prior to this assembly bill passing, school districts used to enter into mitigated agreements with developers. And many times school districts would hold developers to incredible standards to be able to get the facilities that they need. Districts were required, though, to demonstrate how the development was going to create a need for facilities and hence charging the developer a fee. So it was kind of the Wild West out there of determination exactly, what is the demand, what is the need, and how do these new homes create impact on the district. The outcome of that was Senate Bill 50. And Senate Bill 50 created the rules by which districts had to analyze the development and the impact, determine if they were eligible to actually collect a fee. And part of Senate Bill 50 instituted something called a level 1 developer fee, which is an amount set by the state allocation board. And it's renewed every 2 years based upon the cost of construction. And it becomes the maximum that a district can charge a developer for a level 1 fee. And so since 2000, when the original fee was $2.05 for residential construction and 33 cents for commercial, every 2 years, the state allocation board looks and renews this fee. Correspondingly, districts must renew their study to show that they're eligible to collect that particular fee. And we have recently completed the analysis. The February 2022 state allocation board fee has now risen to $4.79. They actually went up over 17% in the last 2 years. That's indicative of how expensive school construction is becoming. It's just skyrocketing at this time. We have a split with the Antelope Valley Union High School District. We get 74% of the level 1 fee, and the high school district gets 26% of the fee. But of course, we also collect we actually go above and beyond, and we collect something called the level 2 developer fee, which is a notch up from that. And we have to do that annual study each year. But if we don't conduct the level 1 study every 2 years, we can't collect any fees. So it's important that we renew this analysis every 2 years to show that we have the base eligibility to be able to collect any developer fees. And the study is here for you this evening for your review.
Excellent. Thank you so much for doing the study. And any comments?
I just had a quick question. I probably know the answer, but I've forgotten over the years. Who determines the percentage? Like we get 74% in the high school. Obviously, it's not the high school district, and they get 20%, 26%. Is it just because of the study? Is that? I don't remember. I mean, I know that's been like that.
Predates me.
Yeah, I think it does.
But it has to do, I think, with the representation of Lancaster School District versus the high school district, which encompasses all the districts in the valley. So while we get only for Lancaster, the high school district gets for Palmdale, Western Lancaster, and correspondingly. So they get a little bit from everybody. And I don't know how that 74-26 was determined, but somebody's smarter than me.
Okay. I know high schools haven't gotten any cheaper either. And I know there's more of, more area, but just curious. Thank you.
Glad we get the 75%.
74%.
If you look at it, we educate them for more years than the high school district does. And I don't know if the community college kicks in or gets a portion of this, but
not developer fees, apparently.
Apparently not. Okay. It's an interesting question, something I'll have to research.
Their own.
Yeah.
And now the community college is not eligible to collect developer fees, although they can, as they have, pass a general obligation bond to support the construction of their facility.
Correct.
Okay, so we need to close the hearing at 8:27. And with that, for item 15, we have an adoption of resolution 2021-22, increasing school facilities fees. Do we have a motion?
So moved.
Second.
Moved by Mr. Nguyen, second by Mrs. Grooms. Any further discussion?
Thank you for doing that, Larry. It's with the amount of construction going on up here in the Antelope Valley, it'll help our schools considerably. So thank you.
With that, call for the vote. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? Motion carries 4-0. Okay, item 16, individual action items, human resources, approval of interim director of fiscal services.
So moved.
Second.
Mr. Giles, second by Mr. Nguyen.
Well, as you are all aware, our Ruby is leaving us. Shame on you.
I know, really.
I know we've all been very gracious about it, but Ruby, personally, I can't tell you how much I am going to miss you. Professionally, multiply that by about 1,000. Ruby has done a great job for the district, and we are blessed to be able to ask you to approve an interim appointment of Director of Fiscal Services of Maria Isabel Alatorre, who for the last 2.5 years has served as the the budget supervisor, accounting supervisor, and has been under the tutelage of none other than Ruby. And it's nice to be able in this season where, Ruby left us a little early than we thought she would. We're able to continue to be in good hands. So we're recommending tonight an interim appointment through June 30th.
As long as she gets Ruby's stamp of approval, right? Okay.
Okay.
And
We haven't voted, but just,
Okay, with that, any further discussion? And we will call to vote. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? Motion carries 4-0. Congratulations, and thank you very much. All right, and next we have consent agenda items, superintendent, items 17A to 17N. We have a motion.
So moved.
Second.
Moved by Mr. Nguyen, second by Mrs. Grooms. Any items or discussion?
Yeah, the donations. Actually, the Welcome and Wellness Center, I'm sure, can use the diaper and hygiene items. They're doing so much for our district. So thank the baby to baby, and also the cricket cutting machine for Westwind Elementary. I don't know if any of you know what a cricket is, but my daughter uses it considerably, making shirts, making banners, making all sorts of things for for Sunnydale. And so it's a very important machine to use, and I'm sure Rhonda was is appreciative for donating that. And all of the proclamations, should we read every one of them? But it's important to know that these proclamations that we put here on the agendas mean a lot. School Library Month, Public School Month, Public Health Week, and Child Abuse Prevention Month. Very, very important items. So it's nice we have these proclamations. Thank you.
Thank you. Definitely some good items there for sure. Any further discussion? Okay, all in favor? Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motions carry 4-0. Okay, next item 18, consent agenda items business. Items 18A to 18F.
So moved.
Moved by Mr. Giles, second by Mr. Nguyen. Any discussion?
Larry, could I ask where the Top Cat ceiling mount audio system was installed?
On multiple campuses, Rebecca knows the details.
So these are the sound systems that we're installing in the classrooms. We used to have red cats, and now we're replacing them with Top Cats. The sound is a lot better. The teacher wears a microphone in the classroom. Kids can hear from wherever they are in the class. So we're improving those sound systems in the classroom.
Great.
Just changing cats.
All grade levels, you said?
All classrooms.
Okay.
That reminds me of Cat in the Hat, but that's a different thing.
Different story.
But
yeah, there was way back. Yes,
Don't say how far.
it was a way back though. I do remember that.
Well, those devices, I'm sure, are greatly appreciated for the teachers, definitely, and the students. So glad to see that. All right, call for the vote. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries 4-0. Item 19, consent agenda items, educational services items 19A to 19F.
So moved.
Moved by Mrs. Groom.
Second. Go ahead.
Second by Mr. Nguyen. Any discussion or questions?
I have one, Bart, is that calendar for early childhood, is that different than our normal school calendar?
No, it's just the way the structure is because they don't have minimum days like we do on Tuesdays. So it just outlines that and then follows our normal calendar otherwise in terms of days.
Okay. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motions carry 4-0. A consent agenda number 20, human resource services items 20A to 20B.
So moved.
Moved by Mr. Giles, second by Mr. Nguyen. Any discussion?
I did have a question regarding the Playworks agreement. Apparently it's a nonprofit. Is that correct? Did Mr. Lopez leave? That's okay. I tried to get a hold of him during the week. It's okay. I just was kind of curious. Seems like their fee schedule seems high for a nonprofit, but maybe it's a very expensive program. Is that the one I'm looking at? Playworks.
I actually believe Playworks is a for-profit.
Okay, maybe that's not the right one. No,
they do training for.
Training is what I was looking at.
Yeah, they do training for all of our support staff that helps organize activities for students during recess times, during the non-direct, non-supervised times. So we have hired, as you know, a tremendous amount of campus supervisors and supervision aides, recreation leaders, and we have constantly throughout the course of this year, since students have returned, had to hire new people because of the shortage. What we haven't had a chance to do is, as quickly as these people get hired, is offer some high quality training. And the importance of that to avoid students finding other things to do. So it helps not only for the social emotional learning piece, that they have activities that target that, but the physical activities as well. And it helps to give all of our support staff the skills and strategies that they need so that they can be effective when they're out there supervising hundreds of kids at one time on the playground, which is where we face many of our challenges as far as, there being a confrontation or any kind of disagreement. So this is a training. And one of the reasons it's such a large contract is because we're doing it district-wide.
Right, 23 sites.
So as opposed to looking at one site here, one site there, we have had a couple of our sites that have already utilized Playworks in the past a couple of times and has been very pleased with their work. But it became pretty obvious that it's critically important that we provide this training and support to all of our support staff so that we can improve safety at all of our campuses.
Okay. Thank you. Thank you.
Okay, so it was tested at some of the sites and.
Yeah, so we've had a couple of sites over the last couple of years that have worked with them, and they've done some work, and then another site has done some work, and they continue to go back and really looking at the quality of the training and the ability for them not to just do a one and done. They do the training, then they come on site and they support them. So it's not just a one-time shot. It's about doing it, providing the information, giving them an opportunity to apply it, and then coming back and working with them to improve the skills.
Okay.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Any further questions? All right, call for the question. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? Motions carry 4-0. All right, item 21, consent agenda items, innovation and technology services, items 21A to 21E. We have a motion.
So moved.
Moved by Diane Groom, second by Mr. Wendt. Any questions, discussion?
Rebecca, I'd say thank you for going out and getting the grants. Is that two separate grants or?
Yeah, these are two separate grants that we already have had for the last few years. So this is our after school program and then our intercession program that we do at Discovery and El Dorado.
Great. Thank you.
It's also an opportunity, since you mentioned it, Mr. Nguyen, for us to recognize and give a shout out to Jane Dana, who is the Director of Expanded Learning Opportunities, and she has really been instrumental in taking these two programs, kicking it up a notch and doing some really creative things, even in the midst of COVID and being out. So we have we will continue to not just go back to what we were doing before, but to do a hybrid model and offer things virtually as well as offer things in person. And these programs are really going to be kind of the foundation for some of the activities and ideas that will be incorporated into that expanded learning opportunity program that Rebecca talked about earlier. So in developing that plan, it's going to be built off of many of the similar requirements that are required in ACES. A lot of those same expectations as far as extended care for students, the types of activities being different than what they do in their regular day. You're going to see some parallels between that and the new ELO plan. So she and Kelly are both, they're running together to really make sure that we're on point with this, but we don't have to start from scratch because we have some good foundation with these two programs in place.
Great. Nice to see that we're expanding some of our programs as we're going back to regular in-person learning. So that's great to hear. All right. With that, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? Motions carry 4-0. Hey, item 22, legislative and policy discussion.
None this evening.
And comments from the board and superintendent. And we'll start with Ms. Grooms.
Thank you. Thank everyone for coming this evening and your presentations and comments. I firmly oppose vaccinations for our students, and our board has passed a resolution again and to send that information to the governor that we oppose that until such vaccinations are fully and properly approved by the FDA, as are other vaccinations that we have in our country. And I still stand by that. I still felt that it was important to have our masks for protection in our community. And I am relieved, far more than you can imagine. I'm relieved that we no longer are required to wear masks and that it is an option. And I know it's still a burning issue, but I didn't thrust COVID on us any more than you did, or you did, or you did. COVID was thrust upon us, and we were not prepared to know how to handle this as well as we could. We're learning. We learned every day we learn something new about COVID. And it started off, again, I agree with that 2 weeks. We're going to be off for 2 weeks, and we all expected that. And here we are exactly 2 years later. It is very unfortunate, and I'm thrilled about the new grants that we can do everything in our power to help our kids regain the love of learning in the classroom and after school. So it's, I still have a job to do here, and I feel that every one of us are important on this board and in our community as well.
Great. Thank you, Diane. Mr. Giles?
Thank you. Well, thanks for the meeting. Appreciate the presentations that we had from from telehealth to above and beyond. That was really cool. We got a handy lady that can get tools out and get a kid out. I like it. I like how people in our district can do multiple duties if needed. I noticed Mr. Lopez did a little security just now, so he's good. I let him off the hook on the other thing because like, hey, security is more important at this point. But yeah, he was making me nervous too. But he means well. That's you guys did really good at de-escalating. You guys, this is not how we handled it 15, 20 years ago, just so you know. So you guys did good. I just want to give you guys all a shout out to that. Everybody did that really well. I might not let them speak, but that's the board president thing there, but it's all good. Made me lose my concentration a little bit, but I wanted to congratulate Ruby on your retirement. I'm a little jealous, but as long as you save a spot for me in Florida in case I have my motorhome there, if I can, afford the gas to get there, I just park in the driveway for a while. That's all. I'm going to keep moving. So congratulations to our new interim budget person. She left already, but I'm sure she'll do a good job if you trained her. So I'm confident that you've got your influence on her. But thanks to our speakers that come and pour out their hearts, really good comments. I guess and thanks for the interim report as well. That good news is always good to hear. So thank you very much.
I do have one other thing to add. I was very appreciative that this back door was locked this evening because someone was
pulling on it,
really trying to get in. About the same time, we were hearing a lot of sirens. So I think it's a good practice that we continue.
A really good practice.
Don't like anyone sneaking.
No.
Even for your donation to this.
It goes to the California School Board Association Scholarship Fund.
No, the Antelope Valley.
Oh, Antelope Valley.
Association called
Thank you.
Scholarship Fund.
Which John Miller helped to establish the chicken thing. But so it's got a little bit of us in that chicken thing.
And you get to give it away this next meeting?
Can't wait to give it away, but I am going to match all the donations that I've received. So.
Wow, that's phenomenal. Thank you.
Somebody give her $1,000 real quick.
It's not me.
Now's your chance. Your money gets doubled tonight. All right. Thank you, Mr. Giles. Mr. Nguyen.
Oh, okay. Thank you. The other Mr. Giles' father, I've been called, or, Anyway, attendance. Ruby, I do hope they change that to attendance, not ADA, by actual, because I do think that how you grow your school district is very important. And we seem to be doing a very good job. Our advertising, our growth is tremendous. And I know we have a lot to be thankful for, Michelle, Dr. Bowers, and the whole team. The whole team does a great job bringing our school district to the limelight. I was in Monterey, I think I said, for the schools to watch. And I'm hoping that in the Lancaster School District, Dr. Glatfelder will undertake to include a few more schools. Bart, I know you're excited for that because it is important. Thanks to LifeSource for their presentation. 301 students is got to be tough, but they seem to be doing well financially. And everyone was touched by COVID, so I know they're discipline and all the issues they've seemed to have had should correct themselves. Thank you again for going the step to get Brandon and the online speaking available by the next meeting. I think that'll help a lot, having all of our people in our district being able to call in, write in, and it is important. I did say that there were 10 or 15 speakers against the school board members that voted no, which was just 2 of us. But you know what? There's a, like I called them the last time, the silent group that hasn't been heard. They don't want to come to these meetings because they feel bullied by the group that was here. And I know that because I've talked to them. So, enough on that. Basketball is back at our schools. Get behind it. Friday over at Sunnydale, they're going to have basketball games. And we're looking forward to that. Ruby, we've never had any differences of opinion. and yet you're going to be missed tremendously. And we really appreciate the second interim. It was well put together. And we're so sorry to hear that Florida's going to gain you and we're going to lose you. But just remind your successor now that, as Larry said, you're an integral part of his department. So I hope she will also be that integral part of his department. Thank you very much. That's all I have.
Thank you, Mr. Wynn. And Ruby, again, thank you so much for guiding our ship for all these years and doing it so gracefully and cheerfully. And I know you've put in a lot of extra hours to make sure our budgets came in the right way. And we are, all the students and parents and staff and teachers, we all owe it to you. So thank you so much. So you will always have a home here in our district, and enjoy your time. Sounds like you've got a nice thing set up. So it's encouragement to us all too. So congratulations on that. And again, thank you so much. And also great presentations. I'm glad we can use our bond to help with our facilities needs right now. So that's encouraging. And all those grants that we're getting for extra programs. Amazing. It's great to see basketball's back and the plastics coming down, the masks are coming off. I was really pleased to see the boy present, and he did a very eloquent job presenting his viewpoint and his opinions, and I was how excited he was to go back to the classroom. So that was really neat to see. So yeah, thank you for all the presentations, and I feel bad that there's some divisive issues because of the whole COVID thing, but I'm looking forward to going back to regular school issues and dealing with what here for, and that's for serving the kids and making sure they get the best education they can. So with that, we will bring it to Ms. Bowers.
Great. Thank you so much. And thank you to all the board members. A special thank you to all the staff that stayed the course this evening. My bodyguards back there. Thank you. Sorry. In addition to holding down the fort, Krista as well. I just want to give a special shout out to Mr. Coleman, who was quick on the draw.
And Mr. Goins, they were all,
Dr. Goins was back there, and
working it.
They were a strong team, powerful team. to reckon with. But you had asked a question earlier, Mr. Giles, about the acronym Hazel. Well, it's not an acronym.
It's not an acronym.
It's not an acronym.
Named after somebody.
It's named after one of the founders' children, Nick Woods. And another piece of information that Mr. Coleman shared with me is that they are providing healthcare access to nearly 1.5 million kids. So it's really exciting that Lancaster School District is going to take advantage of this opportunity that was presented to us and move in the direction of providing this type of service and support. So I'm very excited. And again, I really appreciate the work of Rose and Rebecca in making that kind of dream a reality for us, and the staff at Hazel Health. And they commented to me how wonderful our staff was. So you should know that. I just want to share it with you. Again, congratulations to our Above and Beyond recipient, Mrs. Alcazar, for being quick to figure out how to get a foot out of a fence.
I'm not sure I know how to do that.
Yeah, without injuring anyone. And I too would like to say thank you to Ruby for being just being there and doing what she does oh so well and helping us navigate the budget. And yeah, Ruby, 10 years for me, 10 years for you. I'm loving this. Thank you. Thank you for all of your support over the years. And it has just been wonderful getting to know you as a professional and as a friend as well. So I'm going to miss you, but I got your cell number. So we will, we will stay in touch. With that, I am just going to also say thank you to the board for approving the CFD and allowing us to move forward with the work that needs to be scheduled for our schools. Great things have been happening and looking forward to continuing those facilities improvements. Thank you.
Great. Thank you very much, Ms. Bowers. And with that, we don't need to reconvene to a closed session. So we're going to adjourn at 8:56. Do we have a motion?
So moved.
Second. Mrs. Grooms. Second by Mr. Wynn. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Thank you, everyone. Have a great evening.